60% of the calories in the world is rice. Maybe, maybe it's not that much. I don't know, but it's high. Rice feeds a lot of people. This farm grows enough rice to feed 71 million people for a day. Is that just this farm? But there are 365 days in the year. And so, there's a lot of food that has to be produced to feed the population. And we could feed California for a month, I think. There used to be, the farmer was seen as, the not a hero, but at least respected for what they did. But it seems like that's fallen by the wayside. Some people are looking at blaming things on the farmer that are really beyond our control. Well, my dad grew up here. My granddad's house is right over there. And I was actually born in the hospital, raised right up here at this old tree, old shop. My dad bought probably 80 acres. First land he bought was right up here, and then slowly he bought 40 more and 40 more, and he ended up with about 600 acres. And then they moved where the shop is, and that was 1,000 acres that he bought there, and it was $250 an acre back then, and nobody thought he could pay for it, but he did. He did real well.
What do you think appealed to your father about this particular patch of land?
It was the only thing he could afford at the time. This soil over here is not very good. It's not very good cotton ground, not very good soybean ground, but it grows really good rice. And so he bought it, and that was about the time that rice was becoming known in Arkansas. So he started clearing land and planting rice. So all of these fields, my granddad we called Pop, and so this is the field that he cleared. We call that Pop's field. This is the old house place up here. There's a little shotgun house there that burned down years later. But I was born and raised right here on this corner. That's my dad's first shop that he built, and everybody wondered why he needed one so big. And that's small, man. I played in a mulberry tree right here where we're sitting. It's gone. There was a little fence surrounding the house, and I think I was about 4, but I remember my brother and my sister and I outside rolling a snowball. We were going to build a snowman. They rolled it out through the gate, and when we came back in, it was too big to go through the gate. So we had to cut the sides off of it to bring our snowman in the yard.
How would you describe your father?
Real? Can you give me a little time to think about that?
Yeah, man.
Very smart, a little bit harsh. I knew he loved me, but he didn't hardly ever tell me that. Hard worker, a pusher, not a leader. Didn't really have a lot of passion for anything but farming and bird hunting. I learned a lot from him. I loved him, but he wasn't easy. He was good, but he wasn't easy.
What is your approach to parenting?
Hmm. Well, I love my kids. I want them to know that I love them. I don't want to be so loving that I don't tell them what the pitfalls might be. I don't want to just let them run off into it without saying anything. But I didn't try to force them in any one direction or another. Mark uh, could have been anything except other than a farmer, and he chose to be a farmer.
As you see, here's a head of rice that's emerged. You see, all of these are empty right now. That will eventually fill with a milky-like substance, which will turn into a chalky-like substance, and will eventually become the grain that you would see at the grocery store, except for the fact that it's got this husk on it that'll have to come off of it. But for a few days, there's a period where, just like any flowering plant, this is going to produce pollen. And that's when I do not come out here. This field is actually fairly healthy. This field went through some challenges during the flood. It actually had algae that kind of took some of it down. That was more on the north end of the field, though. This one stunted a bit, set back a bit, but it has the uniformity across the field that you would expect. You're seeing a few lighter colored plants sticking up here and there, probably. That's less than ideal. Those are weeds that we were unable to deal with, somewhat due to the flooding, but some that just happened. This farm was started 75 years ago, and the some of the steps that my grandfather took back then made it possible to continue the farm this long. I mean, some of the work they did with leveling the land made it possible to use less water, which means that on drought years we've got enough water. It's never plentiful. I mean, this year we had a flood, so it was more than plentiful, but um, also makes things more economical. I mean, you have cost savings through the years, but I mean, we look at the world that we're living in, and we realize that if we don't do what we can to conserve and to sustain what we have, we're not going to be able to produce what not just our families need. Step one is feeding our families, but step two is making sure that it remains viable to produce food for our for humanity in the future. So, it's economical in that we need to stay in business so that we could provide for our families, but it's also philosophical because we need to make sure that we do the right thing for the future.
Mark is kind of an odd mix. He's the business side is kind of his forte. He takes care of all the government stuff, all of the paperwork. There are conservation things you can sign up for and do and gain a little extra money here, or tax credit or something like that. He takes care of all of that, but he can do the other also. But I think his heart is in uh, pushing the farm in a good direction.
So I grew up here on the farm, and worked here as a teenager, and then I went to the University of Arkansas at Little Rock after finishing high school, and continued to. I went to school 2 days a week, worked full time. In between that, I was married at that point, pretty young, and so I would go to school Tuesday, Thursday, work Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Saturday, and through undergrad. Then I took about a year off of that and did a master's in professional technical writing. And so I still actually teach a um, composition course at the university as an adjunct each semester, and then work full time on the farm. And I participate in a number of other agriculture organizations as well in different capacities.
Mark is, when he went to college, he majored in writing, which was a shock to me. And when he did, well, my first thought was, well, he doesn't want to be a farmer. And I didn't say that, didn't push that. And I thought, well, you know, this is going a different direction. So he majored in writing, speech and writing. And I thought, well, maybe he could be a lobbyist or something. You know, kind of turned out that that's the way it is, because he's on a lot of boards and Rice, USA Rice. Spoke before the Senate Agricultural Committee and things like that. He's not a politician, but he's real. He knows what he thinks, and he's not afraid to tell you. And so he's a really good representative for the farmer.
Do you take pride in what you do?
I do. So, you know, it's a different sort of way of doing things. I've heard my dad say this, and I agree with him too. If we and maybe this is just some genetic stubbornness coming through, but if we weren't able to sort of do this our own way, for better or worse, I don't think I would be interested in it. If we had to just maintain the status quo and do this like a lot of people do, no problem. I mean, if other people enjoy doing it that way, great. That's fantastic. But if I had to do it that way, I don't think I would. And so the fact that we're able to sort of plot our own course and exist within production agriculture in a way that's a little bit different, that I do like, and I do take pride in that.
I usually have 3 ideas going at least, and if I don't, I'm not satisfied. Some of them may not turn out to be anything, but then again, that's possibilities of that.
And clearly, it's benefited your farm a great deal. That
Well, the Japanese rice was one. The sake rice was one. Every 2 years, the rice industry brings all their PhDs and everybody together, and they have what they call a rice technical working group. And so all those guys come and they share what they've done, the papers they've written, and everything, what they've been working on for the past 2 years. And I'm always just interested in stuff like that. So I would go to these meetings, and I'd be the only farmer there. It seemed like that those doctors had never met a farmer before, because I wore a name tag that said grower, and everybody just, you know, wanted to know what I thought about what. But anyway, I was there to find out what they've been working on and see what the next thing coming. And I guess that's my kids will tell you that I'm always looking over the horizon. That's what could be important later on, such as the carbon credits and the methane emissions and things like that. That's the reason we've gotten into all of that. But I went to one in California, and there was a Japanese guy there, and so I'm from the South, from the Southern hospitality, and he was being ignored. Everybody else was having fun, and he was a wallflower, and so I felt sorry for him and went over and started talking to him. And of course, we were talking about rice, and he was talking about Japanese rice, and I was telling him about Arkansas. And anyway, he started telling me that Japanese rice was different from American rice. And most people don't even know we grow rice in America, the average citizen. But so he was telling me that the different rices were so unique and flavorful and all of this. And so he said that they won't grow anywhere but in Japan. And I'm that guy that I want to, you tell me I can't do it, I want to see if I can or not. So we got some seed and we started trying to grow it. And sure enough, it grows in Arkansas. But I got home and I got the Globe. This was pre-internet and pre-everything, and I was a library guy then. I got the Globe and I traced the latitude from Japan around to Arkansas. Cuts right through here. So I thought, well, you know, the temperature and the weather should be about right. So we started growing it. And so we grew it, but we harvested it, but you couldn't tell whether, I didn't know whether it tastes good or not. I don't have any background in that. So I started looking in the library for Japanese trading companies, and I found Mitsubishi, and I think the guy's name was Michiro Hyodo. And anyway, I just cold called him and I said, I've got Koshi Hikari, and I need someone to taste it and see whether it's any good or not. I said, would you be interested? And he said, no. I said, why? And he said, you can't grow that outside of Japan. I said, well, I'm telling you, I just did.
Did you ever dream of doing anything else but farming? Or did you ever think you wanted to do something different?
I still don't know what I want to do. I would never dreamed of doing anything else. I always thought I'd be a farmer, but if I had to be a farmer like other people farm, I wouldn't be happy. It kind of need to be turned loose. I don't know. Just, I want to go my own way, and if I have an idea, I want to see it through, see if it'll work or if it won't work. My dad let me do a lot of that, but that wasn't his way. His way was to do the same thing over and over every year. Now he was changeable. Don't get me wrong, but we would still be growing one variety of rice with him. He wanted to grow one and grow a lot of it and sell it. Then next year, do the same thing. And I just want it to be interesting more than just financial. So I've got to have something that interests me. Everybody in Japan is a rice expert because they eat rice all the time, and they grew up. Either their parents or their grandparents grew rice. When MacArthur renegotiated or resettled all of the farms in Japan, he gave 1 or 2 acres to every family. And so after World War II, then every family had some acreage of rice. And they either let somebody else grow rice on that or grew it themselves. And so they're really steeped in the rice growing culture. Everybody knows how to grow it, and everybody thinks they know what's the best way to grow rice or to cook rice or which one tastes better and all that. So I don't know if Balmeda is low enough or not, but there's a really cool shot over there. There's a cypress tree that is hollowed out at the base, and there's a cypress knee growing up to the center of it, which looks like a nativity scene. The cypress knees going up the middle of it, and it looks like Mother Mary holding baby Jesus as a cypress knee. And so one of my Costa Rican friends came by, and he said, if that were in Costa Rica, it'd be a shrine. I just saw it one day and then pointed it out to others, and they said, wow, it really is. Wow, it really is. And people wanted to come see it. And, it's just a very unique. Corporate farm versus family farm. This is owned by, I don't know if Bill Gates owns that, but he owns some of the property around here. And he hires people to farm it. And they basically go in and don't farm it and collect insurance money. from it.
Bill Gates is quite a neighbor. So,
I'd like to meet him. Maybe we could straighten him out. If you could be a smaller farm and grow the sake rice, that'd be fine. I mean, you could do that. Maybe do a little better job of it, actually. But we've just gotten bigger because you almost have to. The combine is $500,000, and those tractors, that tractor you're on was probably $300,000, maybe a little less than that. But everything's so expensive, and your fuel and your fertilizer, your seed is $7 a pound. Everything is just so expensive that you have to have a wider. You have to size it right to the equipment that you have. So we have, I don't know, 3,500 acres that we're farming, maybe a little more than that. With two combines, 4 new tractors, newer model tractors, and 3 25-year-old tractors. So, if we got any bigger than what we are right now, then we'd have to buy more equipment when we're able to do it. If we're any smaller, then 1 combine is not enough and 2 is too much. So it has to be kind of sized, to suit the farm. You go into the year with an idea of you're going to do this, 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 and then when the weather comes along and changes all of that, we had all of our herbicides out. We had all of our nitrogen in the field. The rice was, all we had to do was just to let it grow and watch it and for insects and what have you. And then the flood came. For 3 weeks, we were pumping water off, trying to get the water down. And then when we did get the water down, the grass started coming. We had to try to kill the grass, which was already too big to kill. So we had tried to burn it back. Try to get the rice growing. You've got aquatics, which you didn't have a problem with earlier. Now, since 3 weeks, you've got duck salad and red stem and gooseweed, peppermill, small flower, umbrella sedge. Those are some of the things that we have to know our weeds and our grasses and things. What's out there.
The flooding took out of about 10% of our crop completely that we had to replant at a very, very late date. And then I would say of the rest of it, we probably saw a significant impact on another 30 to 40% of the crop, which we won't know the full impact of until harvest. But it's pretty much our worst crop that I remember in recent history because of that, because it happened at a time when there wasn't a lot you could do to recover from it. If it happens earlier, you can replant. If you had gotten that much water later, it would still been problematic, but the rice is much bigger. It can handle it better. So anyway, it was a problem. That field that you're videoing right now does not look like a field rice should. It looks like crap, honestly. But that's the raw reality of it. It's not always easy. It's not always predictable. Market forces change. Thankfully, this year things seem to be on the upswing a bit because of, lower acreage, lower supply mainly, maybe some better demand to some degree. But, the issues that can impact agriculture, first on the ground you've got weather, but then you've got the rice industry right now is kind of seeing a challenge with what's going on in Haiti. I mean, first and foremost, we care about the humanitarian crisis happening there, but the economic reality of trying to export rice there in the midst of what's going on has caused issues with our industry. So, you can't. It seems like a farm is relatively isolated from the rest of the world, but in many ways, there's so many connection points that every little thing that happens anywhere in the world can change the whole dynamic overnight.
We're trying to position ourselves where we can weather the storm if something like that, something happens. You never know. Every 4 to 5 years, there's a new farm bill. Without the government support, it would be really difficult to make it. I know people wonder why the government subsidizes farmers. And from my point of view, they're not. They're subsidizing the consumer, because everybody knows that if you run out of food, you're going to have a revolution. If you run out of water, you're going to have a revolution. That's what's happening in parts of Cuba right now. So if you keep the price of food reasonable in the grocery store, then the government knows that the people are going to be amiable to whatever they're doing. But if the price of fuel goes up, or the price of food goes up, the price of gas goes up, when people start being agitated, that's my trophy wife.
Whitney's gone back to the house to get some dip. We forgot to get it out of the refrigerator, so
It's my wife, Judy.
it's good to meet y'all.
It's a pleasure to meet you. I'm John.
Good to meet you. And Stan, good to have y'all on the farm.
Thank you so much.
Oh, you're welcome. I'm gonna go get something else, and then we'll all be out here to eat.
Oh, fantastic.
He asked me out, and our first date was November the 19th. Went to Little Rock, went to the movie, Lieutenant Robinson Crusoe. And there used to be a little thing called Farrell's, and they had all kinds of ice cream, and they had loud music in there, It's just like a little ice cream joint, but they had food too. So we went to that, and then, we knew from then, at that moment pretty much, that we were going to get married.
There she was standing with golden hair, without a doubt the most beautiful there. I gathered up all of my courage, and I took a chance. And we danced all across that old barn floor. And my heart beat like it had never before. 3/4 time. I walked her home after the dance. My heart still fluttered just holding her hand. I whispered goodnight, but she gave me a kiss on the cheek. I relived each moment that night in my room. So
He comes up to my house on his birthday. His birthday is December the 18th. And he came in, he pulled out his guitar.
Remember, he still had hair.
And at that time, he played a mandolin. He didn't really play the guitar. But anyway, he pulled out his guitar and he started this song. And it's really pretty. And his best friend Sherman had written this song. Sherman passed away a couple years after, when Mark was a baby, when he passed away. But he started singing this song. And then he asked me to marry him. He didn't have a ring. He just asked me, which was fine. I'm like, well, yeah. Then he had asked my dad.
He asked your dad after?
Yeah.
I was smart.
Yeah. He asked my dad. He came over and he was so scared. And
Don't blame him.
so he came over and I knew he was going to ask my dad. And so I went with my mom to the kitchen. And I hear my dad go, "You what?"
I married that girl with the golden hair. The kids are in bed and they said all their prayers. I take her hand and my heart fills with romance. And we dance all across our bedroom floor. And I love her more now than ever before. Again in my arms, she's that golden-haired girl. At just the right moment, I give her a whirl. I hold her close, and her heart is beating with mine.
I don't know how to describe it. I never met anybody like him. He was just honest. Not that people are honest, but just honest and I think maybe, and I never thought about it this way. I think I knew he loved me.
He was completely
Yeah.
opposite of your dad.
He was. He was completely opposite of my dad.
Daddy is very
He's kind, tender,
loving and just.
soft spoken. My dad was like,
I've seen my dad mad maybe twice in my life,
I think I've seen him, yeah, maybe
and it takes a lot.
twice. I walked away from him one time. How much is this going to be on video? One time, I was mad because he started smoking again. Is that why? Here we go back. And so I just walked out of the house, and he was following me, and he said, "Don't walk away from me." And I'm like, kept walking. And so after that time, we decided I would never walk away from him again, and we would just get things fixed. But that's the only time
Over smoking.
over smoking. It's always been over smoking.
They let my peaches be. While she's gone, I don't worry, 'cause I'm sitting on top of the world. Don't you come here, woman, holding out your hand. I'll get me a woman, you get you a man. Now she's gone, and I don't worry, 'cause I'm sitting on top of the world. I worked all summer and all the fall. I'm gonna spend my Christmas in overalls. Now she's gone, I don't worry, 'cause I'm
Do you
sitting
take pride in what you do?
I like what I do. I think I do a good job of what I do. I'm not all that prideful of a person. Yeah, I don't wake up in the morning and say, "Oh, they're good." It's they'll be glad they have you. You know. I don't know. I don't like the word pride. So.